And we are live. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 54 of the F Stops here. If I am delayed, please blame my internet. Anyway, so today we have a very special guest, Joe Farace, who has written 5 books and probably combined. He's a prolific blogger, and he's also a very nice guy. So we have him on the show today. We're going to be talking about cars and mirrorless photography and other things that I can interject myself with on a time delay. And as always, we have Jamie, who's back to share more photos of cool stuff he gets to go take pictures of somewhere in the middle of nowhere, which I think is technically Michigan. Not positive. But anyway, so we'll go ahead and kick it off with Joe and photography. Just kind of tell us a little bit of your background.
Talking about a long story. Okay, let's see. Let's start back in. I was 8 years old, and my parents gave me a camera, and I've been taking pictures ever since then. And what's kind of interesting is that all through my life has been my parents who kind of guided me. I mean, I had an Argus C3. I don't know if you guys remember what that was. It was that little Bakelite brick camera, and that's what I started with. Actually, I started before that. I moved up to the Argus C3 somewhere around when I was in like 8th grade, and then that got me into 35 millimeter photography. And you know, my parents always encouraged me to explore things and do things I wanted to do from when I was a little kid. In fact, if you have time for a long-winded story,
sure.
Back when it was before they had things like Take Your Kids to Work Day, my dad took me to, I think I was junior in high school. He took me to where he worked. Now, he worked at Bethlehem Steel in Baltimore in the open hearth furnace. Some of you may know what that is. Now, so he takes me around, introduces me to all the guys, and then he makes this, at one point he takes and shows me the open hearth thing, which is the hottest place I've ever been to, hotter than Death Valley. And he goes like this, makes a sweeping gesture like, someday all this will be yours. And then he looks at me and says, don't work here. And so I thought, well, great. And that kind of put me on the path of being a photographer, although I had a little detour through a minor engineering career along the way. But what I've been doing lately, I'll talk about show and tells. I don't know if you guys do show and tell here or not.
Oh, yeah.
This is a GX1 Panasonic I bought used with an Olympus lens, Jamie. This is that 9mm pancake lens. And I was out shooting up the hill from where I live here is a lake. And what I like to do every day when the weather is nice, unlike right now when it's getting ready to storm like crazy, I take a walk, go around the lake, take different cameras, take different lenses, and take pictures. And that's what I've been doing this week. I posted a couple of them on the Mirrorless blog and also on my main photography blog, which is Saving the World One Pixel at a Time. And anybody's interested who's watching, they can go back last week and take a look at some of the images I made. But they're basically, I'm not really a landscape photographer. I don't really do landscapes. But I enjoy being outside and fresh air, walking, getting exercise, and making pictures. And so that's what I've been doing lately.
Very cool. So how are you liking the body cap lens?
I love that lens. One of the things I did this week is I put it in 16:9 mode, and I find that really, because you get a lot of information with that lens.
Right.
And it's so cool having a lens that you don't have to focus. It's like I have a Holga lens for my Micro Four Thirds cameras too.
Yeah.
And the Holga lens has the same thing. It has the mountains, one person, 2 persons, you know, and so it's. You don't have any focusing to do, so you don't have to wait. That's the coolest thing. There's no waiting while something focuses. You're in focus, you're not in focus.
Yep.
And so I really like it. And my friend Mark Toll, who he and I would do the mirrorless photo tips blog together. I mean, he gets to travel a lot more than I do anymore, and he's doing some remarkable images with that lens, and that kind of inspired me to get. And you can't hardly beat it for the price. I mean,
Right.
it's like a bargain price. It's like $99 or something.
Yep.
So it's a great lens. I really love it. I mentioned before we went on air, I was talking to Joe. This week we're having the Mirrorless Photo Tips is having a car show photo walk down in Castle Rock, Colorado. I'm going to take my EM10 with the 9mm pancake lens as one of the cameras I take with me. I'll take a Lumix GX4 or GH4 too, but I like to take two cameras, two very different kinds of lenses, and we're going to take pictures of all kinds of cars from Ferraris to hot rods on Saturday morning.
Very cool. It'd be interesting to be able to get up close and personal to vehicles of that caliber. I can't say that I've actually done that yet. So
you know what's it's amazing. What's really great with this particular car show? It's held every year, the day before Father's Day in Castle Rock, Colorado, which is a charming little town, and it's only about 20 minutes from me. Is that it's on the streets of the town, so they park on the streets, and you can interact with the people in a much better way. It's really great. And last year I was admiring this Ferrari Dino. It was one of my dream cars of all time, and it was a blue one. And I was taking pictures. The guy says, "Well, would you like me to open the engine compartment?" I don't really like taking pictures of engines, but he was so nice. I thought, okay, yeah, great, I'll take a few pictures. And then he says, "You want to sit in it?" And I said, "Hell yeah!" And so I gave my camera to my wife Mary. I said, "Hey, get some pictures of me in this Dino, because this is the closest I'm ever going to get to it." So that's the cool thing about car shows. You meet the greatest people at car shows.
Yeah, it sounds like that kind of a setting's pretty good too for making it really relaxed and just kind of a friendlier atmosphere, I think, than something that would be kind of indoors and roped off. And
yeah, there's no stanchion, so you can get close to the cars. You can talk to the owners. You can get them to do things. So one of the things in car shows is one of the first photo tips I always give people is there's always a little sign that the show organizers, they stick underneath their windshield. And I always say, talk to the owner, ask him to remove it.
Yeah.
Ask him to lower the hood. Tell him you'll email him a photo, whatever, and you can get much better pictures that way.
Cool. So what about you, Joe DeLay?
Cool. Wait for it. So all of my pictures from the drive across the country, so those are actually not only apparently re-enable, but they're also a blog post. So I'm kind of bummed that Zach had to done two things he's requested, and of course he's not here. I still haven't gotten the film developed because I will. I think honestly now my start developing stuff that I took a year ago, and be like, oh my god, I totally remember when I was doing that. So
you're shooting film on this project, Joe?
Yeah. So I've been shooting. I've been shooting with a 35mm Canon AE1 or a year and a half actually. And all of the photos that I've taken over the last year and a half or so in California into some sort of book-like object, maybe a book, to kind of just show it through a different way, because it's more this is what I took on film. I got it wrong, to kind of teach me a little bit.
So you're processing all the film yourself?
More about the math behind.
No,
I'm actually sending it out for process. But yeah, so eventually I want to learn how to get into it. The first camera I had as a kid was actually an APS-C format, where you is the big size. So I don't know if you remember that. It was back in the mid-90s.
Sure, that's right. It was killed by digital, really.
Yeah, it was. So I wanted to actually experience thirst, and I was like, I want to do this with an old camera if I'm doing it. You know, it was like right before digital came in with like the Canon S. That's been a fun adventure so far, and then I'm looking forward to finally developing everything I haven't done.
Well, there's a wonderful
So
blog you
Jamie,
can check out called Japan Camera
oh
Hunter
okay,
that has. He's a guy who shoots film, and he finds unusual cameras for people too. He's kind of like a buying service, but it's a really interesting blog to read because one of the things he does is he showcases different photographers who are shooting with film, and he also goes inside camera bags, and people send pictures of their camera bags and all the stuff that's in it. And to me, it's really fascinating to see the kind of gear that people have and the unusual kind of things they have in their bag.
that is pretty cool.
So it's
So actually,
JapanCameraHunter.com.
I will check that out. So speaking of which, what do you have in your typical bag? I know that you have more than one bag that you normally take out. So in your typical
Yes.
camera go bag, what is in there right now?
One of my bags is kind of in transition, but I have my mirrorless bag. My current mirrorless bag has the GX1, a GH4 Panasonic, and a EM10 Olympus, and a bunch of mostly Olympus lenses because I still have an EP3, but I have a little Olympus bag that, like when I go to shows like this photo walk, I'll take this little tiny Olympus bag and I'll toss the EM10 in that and carry the GH4. But in the bag itself is 3 bodies and about 7 lenses, including the Holga lens, which you may not consider a lens, but it is used to take pictures. So they range from, I guess, not counting the 9mm pancake, there's a 17mm, and then there's a couple zooms. I think the longest focal length is around 150mm. But usually for the show, I'll just take the kit lens, the 42 to whatever the heck that is, 14 to 42. And like I said, for this photo walk, I'm taking the 14 to 42 and the 9mm. And again, I'm going to shoot in 16:9 format with that, so I can get the most dense image instead of getting trees and sidewalk.
I'm gonna have to give that a shot. You know, I honestly play around a whole lot with aspect ratio in camera, and you know, we've got quite a few options in the camera. So you know, and it's for whatever reason, I'm always doing it in post. You know, and it just never clicks to me to just kind of do it in camera and just kind of view what I'm looking at that way, right on the spot, rather than changing it later.
You know, one of the things is it's like how I shoot black and white. When I shoot black and white, I'll shoot JPEG plus RAW.
Yeah.
And the reason I shoot the JPEG and have it set in monochrome is I can see it in black and white. I don't have to guess. But even though, to me, it's just a preview. I'll use the RAW file and then I'll convert it later.
Yeah.
But I'll shoot it in, especially if I'm doing portraits, because it's so much easier to retouch a color portrait than a black and white one.
Yeah.
And but even for outdoors and stuff, it's so much easier. That's what's great about mirrorless. There's so many thousand things better than with mirrorless, but you have you look in there, you're seeing 16:9. You look in there, you're seeing black and white 16:9. I want to change the contrast. I want to change the filter that's on there. I want a red filter. I want to bump up the contrast. All that's visible, not like you're looking through a mirror that's going to flop out of the way and make a lot of noise.
Right.
That's what's really cool. And the other thing is when I like to do a lot of studio work. I really like photographing. I like doing glamour photography. That's just one of my passions too. And you take the picture, you see it. You know she blinked. Or she didn't blink. Her eyes are half closed. Or the picture looks terrific. You don't have to stop, put the camera down, and say, oh, let me look at the back of it. You know, you already saw that picture in the viewfinder. To me, there's so many thousands of advantages of using this kind of technology. But you're laughing like you're like an evangelist for this every week, right?
Yeah, it's my baby. I transitioned completely to mirrorless. I think it's been 2 years now. I think it was when the EM5 came out, so it's been a couple years now. And I don't regret it one bit. Like you said, I can go out and I can have a bag with so many lenses it doesn't even make sense to carry so many with me, and it's not a burden.
That's right.
To do it.
That's right.
I mean, I did a urbex trip to Detroit, exploring the Fisher Body plant and a few other abandoned places, and I literally had every lens Olympus makes, damn near, for Micro Four Thirds, and I had it in a Think Tank Photo shoulder bag, and when I opened it up to show people what, everybody's like, oh, so what's everybody shooting with? What did everybody bring? And I opened my bag up, and I literally had people say, oh my God, are you kidding me? How many lenses are in there? And it's like, I think I've got 9 or 10 lenses in here and 3 bodies and extra batteries. And, and they pick up the bag and they feel it. They're like, oh my gosh, my 5D Mark III and 70-200 weighs as much as like everything that you own.
That is the tail, man. That's the tail.
Yeah.
I was telling Joe earlier, I think we were off air, that we do it. The Mirrorless blog and my other blog sponsors coffee and cameras once a month in different Starbucks around the Denver metro area, and it's just basically guys and girls getting together, bring their cameras, chit chat. It's very informal, a lot of fun, and there's one guy was there. He said, I sold all my Nikon gear and switched to Fuji.
Yeah.
He said, and he's a happy camper.
Oh yeah. Just the benefit of the lightness of your kit alone is a big thing for a lot of people. I know I've talked to a lot of people that are older than me, particularly a lot of older women, and I hope that doesn't sound stereotypical or negative in any way. It's just a really good example, They got tired of lugging around big cameras, and I said, well, look, let me show you what I'm shooting with. And I pull out the EM1 or the EM5, or one of the pens, and I say, pick this up. And then I put the 75-300 on it because a couple of them are into birding. And I said, so 75-300, this is like 150-600 on your 5D Mark II. And they're like, oh my gosh, and it doesn't weigh, it weighs less than my lens, and this is like the whole kit, And I said, well, that's just one of the benefits. And like you were talking about earlier, the live view, you know what you're getting. It's what you see is what you get. And being able to do real-time adjustments in Viewfinder and see it, exposure compensation without taking your eye away from the camera, what the finished product looks like before you even take the picture. And
well, that's one thing with a 9mm is that it takes in so much real estate that it drives the meter crazy.
Right.
So I was constantly, like when I was out shooting, I guess it was last Thursday, working with the exposure compensation control, but it's the camera's to my eye. I'm just spinning the wheel, making the tweaks, and when I move for the next shot, it's completely the other way. But just move the wheel, and you're concentrating on making pictures instead of worrying about camera stuff.
Right.
Like, where's that knob? How's that work? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, cool. It's good to see somebody else so excited about mirrorless too. Generally, for the most part, it's a DSLR crowd on this show for the most part, and I'm not knocking that because that was my birthplace in photography. I wish I had a film background. I really don't. I mean, I'm one of those people that found photography really late in life, and it just happened to be during the digital era. But like I said, it's cool to see somebody else as excited about mirrorless as I am.
Well, Joe, I really like film too. I kept a couple of film cameras. I've got now. Well, I don't know what that is. It's my front door, so you're gonna have to hold. Would you just talk among yourselves? I'll be right.
Oh yeah, no problem. Okay, Joe. So.
Alrighty.
Now, so this is gonna turn into basically a mirrorless podcast, buddy. Okay, you and Zach better watch out.
Yep. I was just telling Zach via Twitter that I'm kind of, and he'll mention this.
Sorry, I thought that might have been my FedEx or UPS guy.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, so Jamie, which I am totally 100% okay with.
Okay.
JB, why don't you actually tell Joe about? I don't know if he's aware of it, and I know that you just love talking Olympics, so we might as well just go there.
So are you a visionary, Jamie?
I'm actually part of the Trailblazer program, which is kind of like a step below visionary. I think the visionary is, I guess, Yeah, it's okay. So the visionaries are people who are definitely more established in the industry, people who have a little bit more behind their name other than just you know, taking their photos. I mean, you see you've got Jay Dickman and Larry Price and David Wells. You got Pulitzer Prize winners and.
Yeah, Jay lives in town.
Oh,
He lives in
okay.
Denver.
Okay, yeah.
I know Jay.
Yeah, he's one hell of a guy to talk to. I always tell people I've met him, several times through the program that I'm in, and just listening to him talk, he reminds me of the Dos Equis guy. I don't know if you're familiar with the commercials, the most interesting man in the world.
Yeah.
I tell people that Jay Dickman gave the Dos Equis guy lessons on how to be interesting because Jay's got just some insane stories to tell. But it's a really cool program, and it's been pretty life-changing for me to be brought in as a trailblazer in that program. A lot of cool opportunities, actually ridiculous number of cool opportunities, meeting senior members from Olympus, Japan, and getting to sit at a round table and discuss product design, what we like, don't like, things like that when we do our annual summit. That's been a pretty awe-inspiring experience.
So they have that in Japan?
No, we actually have that here in the United States in Center Valley, Pennsylvania, where Olympus North America's headquarters is at.
Yeah, I know where that is.
But Toshi Terada came over last year for the roundtable, and for me, that was kind of like a really nerdy, geeky rock star moment to meet Toshi Terada. I was like, oh my gosh, I literally had the goofiest schoolgirl-looking grin on my face, the whole time sitting at the table and going out to dinner with him and stuff. But that's pretty cool to be able to be involved in it. But I figured you knew what the Visionary program was, so.
Yeah. Because of Jay, but I knew about it before because Olympus previously used to do a pretty good job on outreach to press.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore, but they used to do a really good job. So I've seen, in fact, when they used to have various trips for the press, and they would launch new cameras, take you around. They would bring some visionaries along, like I'm trying to remember the guy's name, John. I don't think he's a visionary anymore.
John Isaac, probably.
John Isaac, right?
Yeah.
Cool guy. We went to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And what was neat in watching a guy with that kind of talent work is, here we are in Puerto Rico. I don't know if you'd ever been there before, but he's so at ease with people, and he puts people at ease. We were just walking around the streets, and the way he would talk to people and get them to pose and take pictures, and pretty amazing. It's pretty inspiring, really.
Yeah, they're starting to actually do that stuff again. Recently, there was a press junket for the EM10 and the new point-and-shoot tough camera that's going to be released at the end of the month. They had a little press junket for that. That was a couple of days long. It wasn't as exotic as Puerto Rico, but it was New Orleans for a few days.
Well, that's cool, though. I like that.
But they're starting to kind of.
Did you go for that? Did you make that trip?
No, they had two different trailblazers go for that one. Or actually, they had three. One that hadn't been announced yet, she got to go to that. But they're starting to do that more. They're starting to arrange. They're changing how the whole focus of what the Visionary and Trailblazer program is used for, and it sounds like it's getting kind of back to its roots as far as like I'll be doing 3 different workshops later on this year, 2 of them here in Michigan and then 1 near Boston that I'll be heading up. So they're kind of getting us back out there and using us as kind of a tool and a face for the company again.
Boston's great.
Yeah, I can't wait.
It's got so many possibilities. I mean.
Yep. Actually, I think we're going to be just outside of Boston in a little town called Ipswich, I think is the name of it.
Ipswich?
There's a Ipswich. There we go. Yeah. See, I'm not exactly a Boston native, but it's a historic farm out there, the big rolling countryside, and we're going to do like a photo walk type event out there. So
that sounds great.
Yeah, it's up my alley. I like being outdoors. So. But so I'll share just a couple of pictures so you can see how the whole screen share feature works out.
Cool. I'd love to see that.
And it just kind of goes along with what I've been getting back into lately. So lately I've been sharing photos. If I'm not showing like the crazy urban landscape of Detroit, it's been macro photography using Olympus's point-and-shoot tough camera because it's got this crazy macro mode on it. But I thought my 60mm macro was getting probably a little jealous, so I got actually like a full-blown macro lens out and started shooting with that over the past few days. So this was shot with the 60mm macro. It's a little jumping spider. Those guys seem to feature a lot in my macro stuff lately, just because they're so kind of character. They have really a lot of character for the way they look, you know. And this one again is probably the size of my index fingernail. It's pretty tiny. And this kind of straight out of camera, lit off camera with a FL600R flash.
Because then we terrify everybody.
Yeah, I get a lot of weird feedback about that. Yeah.
I'm not a big bug man myself.
Yeah. This looks like a big bug.
We don't really have a lot of bugs here in Colorado, which is really one of the reasons I was attracted about moving here.
Right.
Well, now that's really great.
And that's
That's spectacular. I'm gonna put my glasses on.
Thank you. And this one's obviously nothing to be terrified from. I mean, this is pretty much probably the slowest moving thing I've shot in a while. So. And again, this is right. And it's a pain in the ass to try to get all of that in focus, so that's why his eyes aren't. At one point, they actually rested on the focal plane because he kind of twisted his head a little bit, but
he actually moved.
Yeah,
he moved. At least he wasn't going to run out of the frame.
Right. And this was, straight out of camera, no off-camera flash. This was natural light. No, this is not focus stacked at all. I could probably focus stack with a snail. If I get him to keep his head a little still, but again, this was just natural light in the woods. We went out to the woods for my birthday, so I shot.
This is with the 50mm.
This is with the 60mm f2.8, and this is at the 1:1 setting on the lens.
I don't have a macro lens for my mirrorless, but I've been thinking about getting one. That's actually on my list.
Yeah, the 60mm macro is great. It's weather sealed, so it bodes well if you have one of the weather sealed bodies.
Well, I don't think the EM10 is, but I have an EP3, so I think the EP3 is.
Neither. That one's not either.
Is it? Jeez,
no.
I'm like totally unweather sealed.
Most people don't shoot in the rain, though. I guess you're probably all right. And again, just kind of sticking, with me being in macro mode. This one's actually been really, really heavily processed using Nick's analog effects too. I just kind of wanted to, play around with that software a little bit. So it actually probably would have been quite a bit sharper if I just left it alone instead of aging it. And again, another macro flower. I'm just an outdoors kind of guy. People give me funny looks when they see how many flowers I photograph, because I photograph probably an absurd number of flowers throughout the year, but it's just one of those things that I like to shoot. And I'm really fond of shooting small flowers. These are this one right here. These are forget-me-nots, and I don't know if you know anything about flowers, but forget-me-nots they're tiny. I mean, minuscule. Again, I use fingernail for reference for everything with small stuff, but the flower that you see right there that's opened up is smaller than your pinky fingernail, so they're really tiny, just to show how small the macro, or how much magnification you can get from the 60mm macro. And again,
I was going to suggest there's the woman I know here in Colorado who does probably the most spectacular flower photography I've ever seen. Her name is Julie Powell.
Okay.
You can Google her and look at her work. It's stunning. I mean,
yeah.
It's just like you can't believe it. I mean, it's so amazing. I mean,
I love that. I'm looking her up right now.
She's I met her through a car club. I used to have I'm trying to remember. I think it was a Mercedes. I used to have Mary and I had a Mercedes 320 SLK.
Okay.
I met her through her dad belonged to the Mercedes club. I met them at an event, and she's just an amazing photographer.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm always looking for sources of inspiration.
Yeah, me too. I think it's like cars. I mean, talk about car photographers. I'm trying to remember there's so many really good. There's a guy who has a thing called I think it's called not stock photography.
Okay, cool.
Or either not stock or non-stock. I think it's notstockphotography.com. Just the most incredible. He likes to shoot. There's a wonderful English car magazine called Classic and Sports. They have a guy named Tony Baker who shoots with them, and his images are just stunning. And both him and the not stock guy have one thing in common. They shoot when there's no light. They'll go out early in the morning and late at night and shoot. And And I think that's true for any kind of photography. If you shoot when everybody else is making pictures, your pictures are going to look like everybody else's.
Exactly.
If you go and shoot in different times of day or even different kinds of weather, that's why we're talking about the weatherproof. That's not, one trip I did make to Japan, it was rainy as can be. And I had to make a choice. I was either going to go out and get wet or I wasn't going to take any pictures. So I said, the hell with it. I went outside. I got soaked. I got some amazing pictures.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to get wet.
Yep, you need to get, like you said, separate yourself from what everybody else is doing if you want to be different. So, yeah, now you've got me stuck looking at her photos. She's incredible.
Isn't it? Am I kidding you?
No, the light is beautiful on these photos.
Isn't it amazing what she does?
You got me sidetracked.
Jamie, screen share some of these. I want to see this.
Screen share some of her photos?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'll do that. Definitely. Hold on, let me open that up.
You're going to be surprised, Joe. Is that what you think?
Right,
no,
Jamie? They're beautiful.
Look, see?
Oh, wow.
Look at that. See what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah, the light on, gosh, let me
look at this.
Yeah, that is awesome.
I know. She's incredible.
Yeah, I'd like to, it'd be nice if she did workshops.
I really don't know about that kind of stuff, but all I know is that I featured her website, and I write a column called Web Profiles. It used to be every month, but now it's every other month in Shutterbug. And I featured her website on there, and it helped. She really liked it, but I was blown away. I mean, when you meet somebody and they say, "Well, I'll take pictures of flowers," say, "Oh, that's nice," but when you see this stuff, this is simply drop dead amazing. There's a guy whose name I can't remember, unfortunately, but if I do, I'll email it to you, Jamie. Who takes flowers and he puts them in blocks of ice.
Oh,
he freezes them, and then he photographs through the ice with large format camera. And you cannot imagine the effect of that. And so I'm always constantly amazed when I look around for websites to feature in Web Profiles that how big photography is. I mean, it's huge. It's way beyond what we can even imagine.
Yeah.
And people are doing such incredible work. You think, man, I really got this nail. I really know how to do this. And then you see stuff like hers. And you think, oh crap, I don't know anything.
Yeah, what the crazy thing about it is there's so much talent out there that goes unnoticed, and sadly, we'll never probably get the attention that it deserves. There's so much talent out there.
That's why I try to do with Web Profiles. I mean, even though I feature 4 sites every other month now, and that's and I've been doing this for almost 15 years for the magazine. So a lot of people who have websites have gotten a lot of exposure. Lately, I ran into a guy and I think he's in Ohio, and he photographs covered bridges. Well,
wow, yeah.
In the famous bridges of Madison County, which is in Iowa, I think, there are 9 bridges. There are 356 of them in Ohio, different bridges. And this guy photographed every one of them. Cool. In different times of the year, different times of the day, and it just, to me, it's like, wow, the heck with the bridges in Madison County. I want to go to Ohio and take those bridges.
Yeah, yeah, it helps if you have a muse.
Yeah.
It's funny, like I've got one that I talk about on this show all the time. It's an old barn that's probably 10 miles from where I live, and I seem to visit it once a month. And it's gotten to the point where I pretty much call it my barn. I'm going to shoot my barn, and I was going grocery shopping one night with my wife, and we saw smoke off on the horizon, and it was far away, and it was in the direction of my barn. So I did a little tweet and said, "Oh my gosh, there's a fire, and it looks like it's coming from my barn." And I talk about this barn so much and shoot it so much that I had people saying, "Oh my God, are you okay? Are you going to be all right? It's not your barn." And I'm thinking, okay, I really love this barn. I'm not that attached to it that I'm gonna actually have.
You'd be sad if it burns down.
I will be though, because it does definitely is a source for a lot of inspiration for me. But it's just funny how people can find themselves attached to a certain thing and just kind of run with it, like the bridges. It's something that he knows that he knows well, and and he does it well because he knows it well. So very cool. Yeah, Joe wants me to screen share. I got to find a picture of the barn to screen share. I don't really know what to share, but I guess
I'd love to see it.
I guess I talk about it all the time or whatever, just because it's kind of one of those things that's actually gotten me, like, little brief bits of fame here and there. Features on a couple of websites, and and a print of it hangs up at Amazon.com's headquarters in Seattle.
That's nice.
In their camera, or their imaging division or whatever. So it's like my little bit of fame, I guess. And of course, I'm struggling to find a good shot of the barn to share with, but I've got so many darn pictures.
Jamie,
and I'm looking through all these different pictures for the barn. I don't shoot it so often that I've got a million. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, so while you're looking that up, Joe, I know that
this is the original
like
Joe, not
workshops as well. Yeah, the original Joe. I know you like to shoot workshops. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the workshops you're doing, especially, I guess, the one that's coming up this weekend?
Well, actually, it's a photo walk. It's much simpler than a workshop, and it's going to be in Castle Rock, Colorado. It starts at 10 o'clock at the, let's see, I guess it's the south end of the main street through Castle Rock, and it's designed for people from the Muralists Photo Tips blog, but anybody can come. Bring whatever camera you like, and we're going to just walk around and talk and take pictures. It's very informal. We did one last month on May 10th, which is National Train Day, and the blog, we did a twofer in Portland, where Mark is located. Mark Toll, who's the other half of Muralist Photo Tips, he had a photo walk in downtown Portland with this big steam engine that was going to be there, and we had one here at the Colorado Railroad Museum, and on the same time, same different states, and it was very informal. Oh, look, you got that camera. Oh, well, geez, look. And like one guy had an EM10. He said, "What's that?" So that's a little grip that goes on the bottom of the EM10. Oh, that's pretty cool, And you do all that stuff, and then we walked around. We took pictures of the trains. The trains were running. We got actually circled the whole museum grounds in the train. It was just more social networking, but we all made pictures. We were presented with something to make pictures, just like at this the car show. This is a terrific car show. They have all kinds of cars, from kit cars to classics to muscle cars to European exotics, and they have little areas, different streets, where there'll be certain kinds of cars down the streets. Probably one of the two best car shows in the state. And the other one is at the old Colorado City, which is in August, and we'll be doing a photo walk for that as well. But it's not really a workshop where somebody's talking and showing pictures. It's more like enjoying photography. To me, it's always about photography. From the very, very first time I took my first picture when I was 8 years old, was of a flagpole with a flag. I took it because it was fun. And to me, it's all about having fun with photography, because there are a lot of other things you can do that are frustrating. You can play golf. If you want to be frustrated, I always tell people at workshops, if you want to be frustrated, play golf. If you want to have fun, photography. That's what it's good for. That's what Muralist has, the very high quotient, I think, of fun.
All right, so I got just a couple. I'll pop up here real quick.
Oh, good.
So this is the barn. It's a huge, hard to tell from this photo because I like to shoot this barn really wide. But it's a giant barn. I mean, it's an old hay barn, so it's pretty big. And I shoot it all year long. This is with a soybean crop planted. I shoot it day, I shoot at night, I shoot it rain, I shoot it shine.
Have you shot it infrared?
You know, I am on the verge of sending a camera out to get converted. I am really, really, really on the edge of thinking about just doing that with one of them.
When Mary gave me my GH4 for my birthday last month, I had a G5, and so I'm going to have the G5 converted. But I have when I spent all my time using Canons, I had a 50D. That when I got my 60D, I had the 50D converted to infrared, and it's been really great.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing that with a pen. I know that there are some companies that do that. So
yeah, with some Life Pixels, it's done my last couple, and they've done a pretty good job.
Yeah, I'll probably have to get with you after the show and get that name again in case I forget it, because it's something that's probably seriously going to happen for me. So again, this is probably one of my favorite shots that I've taken of the barn.
Is this nighttime?
No, this was actually a February morning. I was on the way to get an oil change in my wife's car, and of course I always have a camera with me. And this was shot with a, well, it's a regular Olympus DSLR, so it was a 50 to 200 millimeter, and this was at 200 millimeters. I was quite a ways away from it. But I'm driving down, taking the back way, just on chance, you know, because the sky was just crazy, low clouds and just dark and gloomy in the morning. And of course I had to drive past the barn just to see, and as I'm coming down the dirt road, the clouds are starting to break, and there's this shaft of light running across the field, and it's, if you've seen sunlight do this, and I know a lot of people probably have, but photographers really see this happening, I'm watching the light march across the field, and I'm getting goosebumps talking about it because I was so excited. I gunned the car, and I'm flying down this road at probably 80 miles an hour trying to get to a point where I could get set up when the light would finally, hopefully, make it to the barn, and I'll be damned if I didn't get there and get the lens set up on the roof of the car and fire off 2 shots, and the light was gone.
Yeah.
So this was like one of my oh my gosh moments. And so this is the exact opposite. Super vibrant. Again, a soybean crop shot, you know, at the barn again. I like a lot of contrast and crazy brightness in some of my photos, and that'll show in this one, which is the one that's this is the one that's
awesome.
up at Amazon. This was a hellaciously crazy storm that spawned a tornado probably another 40 miles east of where this was shot. And I didn't chase the storm far enough. That's one of my things, by the way, is I'm dedicated to making it west of Michigan next year to storm chase. So maybe I'll have to come knocking on your door and let you know I'm in your state, because I plan on storm chasing at least all the way to the eastern edge of Colorado.
Oh, cool.
So again, you know, I have a thing with storms, and it just so happened that watching the radar, I knew that this system was moving straight towards the barn, so I raced out there and got this. And my most recent one, which isn't exactly the greatest because it was so much light pollution going on, and it was just a crappy attempt at trying to get the Milky Way. Which
It's still a nice shot, though.
Oh, thank you. It was.
Here's a suggestion for you. Since you haven't tried infrared with the barn, how about light painting the barn?
No, it's funny you mentioned light painting.
Speaking of light painting,
that's one of those things that I kind of really do a lot of too.
You do? I didn't know.
Jamie.
Yeah. Speaking of light painting, a friend of mine and I actually developed a product for light painting. Show him the light brush. Okay, so let me pull up a window real quick here. So a friend of mine and I developed. We came up with a product. We call it the light brush, and it's basically an LED wand that it just makes for some really cool images. And we pitched it on Kickstarter, you know, and unfortunately it wasn't successful on Kickstarter, but we still continue to sell it, and we've actually done pretty decent with sales on that. And of course I'm gonna totally fail trying to pull up. Well, here, I can just do it this way. I'll screen share my browser real quick so you can see. I've just got my Flickr page pulled up, so, and then I can show you a few photos that were taken with the light brush. So this would be one photo that was shot with. Actually, I don't. I sent out my last light brush that I had was sent out to Alex McClure in Arizona, and he was using that to do some work for Steve Huff, which is kind of cool. So again, it's basically the light brush allows you to cycle through different colors on the LED wand, so that's kind of how you get this look right here. as it's actually phasing through different colors. These are all just really abstract things, but I've done some stuff where I was a little more focused on what I was doing, and that's where I came up with things like using it for product photography. So basically, this is just my EP5 sitting on a reflector, and then I just use the light brush to paint. Basically, this entire shot was the only off-camera lighting was the light brush. So, and then there's one of the EM1. Same thing.
You know what's a great light brush subject beside your barn, which would be a great light painting? It would be cars.
Yes, I agree totally.
A nice old rusty car sitting in a field. There was this old rusty Beetle that was out near the old airport when we lived north of town, near the Denver airport. And Mary and I drove by there a million times. I never had time to stop and make any pictures because they were always going to and from the airport. So finally one day, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to shoot this old Beetle carcass sitting in the field. It was gone. So that's why you got to take them when you see them.
Right.
You could be gone.
Yeah.
So I always think about that. I never got to shoot that Beetle because I had the shot in my head, like I know what I'm going to do with this sucker, but I never got a chance to do it.
Now you just got to keep your eye open for another car rusting in the field.
You know.
Yep. It's funny because they're actually kind of hard to find. Around here they are. It's like they don't seem to sit long enough to actually start to settle in. I have a friend that spent months doing exactly that. He had it in his head. He wanted to get a shot of a car that was actually starting to be consumed back into the earth. He ended up finding an old MG that was
cool.
That was in a barn that had settled into the dirt floor of the barn. It turned out to be a really cool shoot. But I can sympathize with not taking the shot when you should have taken the shot, and then the moment is gone. I feel bad for Joe because he is on such a long delay. It's hard for him to interact.
I know, Joe. I mean, I've been missing you as much as I enjoyed chatting with Joe here.
Well, no, but we really love having guests on the show, and it's great to just hear other people's points of view. So I'd love to interact a little bit more. I still really want to hear what you have to say. Kind of been a little bit quiet, and then plus it's just nice to hear people talk about mirrorless because I think this is one of the reasons why I wish Zach was on the show tonight is because another Canon photographer kind of danced down the mirror thing that I'm also looking at, but the furthest I've gotten was the EOS M, which is a great one at that. But the form factor.
Well, it's definitely mirrorless. It's just my personal opinion. I'm going to be, the super biased Olympus guy here. They're onto the right idea, but I mean, to me, the purpose of mirrorless is smaller form factor. That's one of the key benefits, I think. And then to make a mirrorless camera with the sole intention of slapping big fat L glass on it is just kind of I don't really understand. If they would have developed a whole line of like pancake lenses, primes, like prime pancakes, that would have probably done. I think it would have done probably a lot better. But you're sticking big glass on the front of a small body. While it works, it's not
with
necessarily
an
the most
adapter,
user friendly. I don't think. Right. So that makes it even a larger lens, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of different.
That's really one of the things I really like about
very true
mirrorless is the be able to use the adapters. So I have a Leica M6 and a Zeiss SW and with M mount lenses, and I've used them on all my mirrorless cameras with a really tiny little adapter. In fact, I did a story that's in the new Shutterbug digital tips guide that comes out every spring. It's a standalone issue, all about using other kinds of lenses, and it's like endless. You can use any kind of lens at all.
Oh yeah.
On these cameras.
Yeah, I don't have the pocketbook for Leica, but I do have a Minolta Roker X 50mm 1.4 that I love putting these old lenses on my cameras.
So I bought my Leica and and even the X-Pan, which has gone up since I bought it. It's the only camera that's ever increased in value. My Hasselblad X-Pan was I bought them when they were much more affordable. because it was when film was starting to lose its glow. You know.
Yeah.
And now, you know, the X-Pan certainly has like really gotten expensive. It's like cars. You never know. Like back in the 70s, if you go to my car blog, there's a picture of a very young me restoring this old car called an Arnold Bristol. And my friend Ron and I, we restored this car over 11 months. And he said, well, it's kind of expensive. We'll chip in. I'm like, well, how much is it? Well, it's $600. And I took my income tax refund, and we each pitched in $300, and then we split all the expenses to restore the car. We wound up selling it for somewhere around $4,000. We were like so happy as we can be. And now the car's worth $300,000.
Oh my God.
It's like, wait, how did this happen? That's a good thing about the internet, because the current owner of that car is in England, and he contacted me through my blog, through the car blog, and he was asking me some questions about the car, because one of the guys who bought it after Ron and I had converted it to vintage racing, and so he had taken all the things that made it a street car off. I don't know if he ever put them back in when he sold it to the guy in England. Now that guy in England is trying to put it back into being a street car. But there's some pictures of the car on my. If you go to the car blog and type Arnold, ARNOLT, there's a couple of posts with pictures of that car.
Okay, so what is the web address for your car blog? The full address?
Oh, it's joefaraceshootscars.com.
Okay.
Jamie,
I think this is the third incarnation of it. I've gone through many different.
Okay, I've got it up. Very cool. Yeah, we'll share these links, so it's good to have them handy.
It's I don't post there every day, and sometimes I post silly things like Lego announced that they're coming out with a Lego kit for building a Mini Cooper.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, nice. They have a video. I put it on the car blog because I really love Lego. I've got a couple. I guess you can see behind my head. I have the Millennium Falcon, the TIE Fighter with Darth Vader in it, on top of my Mac Pro. That are all Legos.
You're in good company here.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome.
So there's other stuff on the blog too.
Oh, go for it.
So you said we have questions?
All right, Jamie, so anything else we want to talk about? So I do apologize. It looks like
we put everybody to sleep, I'm afraid.
We don't have. Yeah, I don't think so. I just think, sometimes we get questions, sometimes we don't. But yeah, I think we're probably we'll wrap it up in the next couple minutes.
No, I guess, just once again I'll mention congratulations to Nicole Hahn, who won our little 50-second episode giveaway. Her package from me actually shipped out today. I was supposed to ship it out the other day, but I got tied up with some other things. But just so she knows if she's watching, her new camera and hat and goodie bags are on the way. So
you gave away a camera? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I gave away one of the Tough TG850 point and shoots, which something that I've been using quite a bit for macro work, or it's got that crazy 120 or 240 frame per second video that you can do, which is fun to, especially if you have kids and they're doing things like throwing water balloons at each other. Or I was actually doing video posted the other day on Facebook, my dog jumping up, and we have a little Shih Tzu, and he was jumping up, popping bubbles that the kids were blowing, and to freeze him in 240 frames per second, it turns like a 2-second event into a 30-second marathon movie to watch him do. But it was pretty fun. So we gave away one of those and a $150 gift certificate to Borrow Lenses for rentals. And they also, Borrow Lenses donated, I think, a T-shirt and a hat maybe. Olympus gave the Tough and a hat and a couple little goodie bags that I had. And Think Tank Photo donated a rolling airport navigator camera bag. So we had a good little giveaway.
It was a big giveaway. That's some serious prizes.
Yeah, it was a nice one for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
and then I guess, you know, if I was going to say anything else, it's going to be to look up everybody that's on the show tonight and get a hold of them through their social media accounts. Follow everybody on Twitter. I know my handle at MacDonald_photo is who I am, and I'm continuously giving away these little Olympus goodie bags that I've got from a photo walk that I did last year. I have like 50 of them to give away. My wife just keeps telling me, "You're going to get rid of all those things. Just get rid of them. Get rid of them." So I'm trying to get rid of them. So I'm just starting to randomly give them away to Twitter followers. So yep, follow me on Twitter and look up Joe. I'm looking at his car blog right now and am on the verge of drooling at almost everything I see on this website. It's insane. So
amazing. So yes, definitely check out both.
yeah, definitely.
You guys are too nice to me. You're too nice.
Yeah. So all right. So we're gonna go ahead
There are
and wrap
three
up.
of them.
But,
Yes.
And you've now joined the very elite ranks of, I guess. So hopefully you will join us again, because I'm sure
Anytime. I'm glad to.
other people will. But thanks again for joining us, and Jamie, it was a pleasure as always. And you, Zach.
Thanks.
But thanks for watching episode 54 of the F Stops here. Please go Twitter, circle us on Google Plus, and we'll be probably doing some giveaways sometime, I would imagine, in the future. Hopefully not a year from now, but no guarantees. But anyway, so yes, are a photographer and you're interested in being the show, drop Jamie and I a note. All right, so from everyone, we'll talk to you guys
Thank you.
next week.